cloud push up from the southwest, creating hazier spells of sunshine. This cloud turning quite low around coastal areas of Wales and the southwest, so turning a little bit disappointing here. And the chance of the odd shower into the afternoon, which could turn a little bit thundery. But once again, those temperatures pushing past the 30-degree mark for the 6th day in the row. And even across eastern areas where yesterday it was a little bit cooler, it's going to be another warm day ahead. Still feeling fairly warm to finish off the day. Once again, high cloud creating hazier spells of sunshine to finish off the day. Some showers across parts of the southeast. But a fine finish to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and across parts of Scotland as well. A very warm afternoon ahead actually across western areas of Scotland. Probably the warmest day of the week so far. So through the course of the evening, it should remain fairly dry. There could be some showers across the southeast that will linger on, and we'll eventually start to see a change across parts of Scotland, turning more unsettled from the west. Some heavy showers pushing through here, some of these clipping Northern Ireland at times, but actually across the bulk of England and Wales remaining dry. But it's going to be another warm night to come. Temperatures widely not dropping below 15 to 17 degrees, so that might make it a little bit uncomfortable this evening. Now across Scotland, Northern Ireland, once again there could be some showers. These are a little bit heavier and feeling cooler here. And also we've got this layer of showers just pushing across the southeast. Once again, these could turn a little bit heavy, possibly even thundery. But still, for the most part, there's lots of dry weather, lots of sunshine. Temperatures down a touch, but still pushing widely into the high 20s. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A9 northbound between Auchterarder and Aberystwyth, traffic is disrupted due to a broken down vehicle. On the M4 eastbound, delays persist between junction 26 Malpas and junction 24 Coldra. In Durham, the A1M northbound between junction 60 and junction 61 is affected by a collision, with lane closures in place, expected to clear shortly after 12:30 this afternoon. Please note these incidents may cause slow traffic. And on the trains, there is disruption on multiple Avanti West Coast routes, and cross-country issues between Oxford and Worcester Shrub Hill, Banbury and Chesterfield and Derby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bowl.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Thursday, the 28th of May, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, we've known it for some time, but the figures show we are facing a youth unemployment crisis. This morning, the government is warned that Britain faces a lost generation as the amount of young people not in work, education or training is set to soar.
But had I known then what I know now, I'd have never have won.
Backseat boss. Newly released files show that Lord Mandelson, when he was ambassador, told cabinet members how to do their job from behind the scenes while he was in Washington.
And drill, baby, drill. Some ministers push for a North Sea U-turn as Sir Tony Blair blasts Labour's green goals. But will Ed Miliband let the PM change his mind? It is a matter for him after all.
What I did make clear to them, though, was that when it comes to pay, the offer on the table is a really good one.
Well, that's the new Health Secretary, James Murray. He's having his first run-in with resident doctors. They're going to strike next month. It'll be for the 16th time over pay.
And a trans VIP hotline. Transgender taxpayers are handed fast-track access to an HMRC help desk used by royals and MPs.
We'll have to just finish the job. They're negotiating on fumes.
So those peace talks seem to be stalling. Donald Trump says Iran is running on fumes and the deal is nowhere near the finishing line.
And it's squeaky bun time. The great British ice bun is in peril as one bakery claims that people's tastes are becoming more sophisticated.
I'm not surprised the bun's on the way out. It's boring. The ice bun is a boring cake.
If you think about all the different patisseries available now in bakeries, it is very
They're so
dull.
elaborate now, and you can get their donut stalls and all sorts. It's a shame, but that's life, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, we prefer our rich tea biscuits, don't we, Andrew?
We do.
Very
we do.
simple.
But we may be getting some of this threatened species in the studio at some point
If
this
anyone
morning.
can find some.
If anyone can find some.
I think it could spark a revival. Once people hear that they're dying out, people will rush down to the shop to get
Maybe that's what
pink iced buns. Well, let us know what you think about the ice buns and all the other topics we're discussing today. Send your views and comments to
GBNews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top stories from the GB Newsroom. 1 in 6 young people will not be in education, employment or training within 5 years unless urgent action is taken, a major review has warned. Its author, the former Minister Alan Milburn, says the education, health and welfare systems are no longer fit for purpose in preparing young people for adult life. In other news, a 41-year-old Iranian man is fighting for his life after a crash between a car and a pedestrian in Golders Green last night. Police say a 39-year-old Iraqi national was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm, serious injury by dangerous driving and failing to provide a drug sample. Strike action has been effective at bringing the government to the negotiating table in the past, the British Medical Association has said. It's ahead of a 4-day strike next month. Resident doctors will be striking from the 15th to the 19th of June as part of their long-running dispute with the government over pay. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at 10 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We are live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, it's a shocking thing, isn't it? Britain's youth unemployment is to worsen. 1 in 6 are predicted to be out of work by the end of the decade, and we could shortly see more than 1 million not in employment training or employment training.
Or education.
For education.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Well, the former Health Secretary, Alan Milburn, is the man who has been sounding the alarm on the issue. He's claiming that a nation faces a lost generation without urgent action, and he's calling the welfare state a whole system failure.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Almost 1 million 16 to 20-year-olds are currently out of education, employment and training, with the figure set to rise to 1.25 million by 2031. That's in just 5 years' time. So how has it gone so badly wrong?
Well, I think there are so many factors. Alan Milburn himself has raised the question of whether or not the massive rise in welfare benefits, particularly young people claiming for mental health benefits, that's doubled in 5 years. If you can claim money to sit at home and not work, then obviously some people are going to do that.
Yeah.
But also, of course, the rise in taxation of labour on the national insurance threshold, making it more and more difficult for employers to take on young people.
Yeah, and of course, one of the first things this government did was they raised the minimum wage for 18 to 20-year-olds because they're trying to bring it into line with what they're paying 21-year-olds, and that has been seen as a direct impact on employing younger people. Now, we've got the new figure. The number of young people not in employment, educational training, so-called NEETs, has increased to a post-pandemic highest. Here we are, we smashed through the million barrier mark. It's now 1.01 million in the 3 months from January to March. That's official figures from the Office for National Statistics. It's a shaming figure.
Absolutely. And as Alan Milburn was saying this morning, it used to be the case that 4 in 10 people in that category had never had a job before. It's now 6 in 10.
Yeah.
So it's not just a transitory, somebody's lost their job or they're looking for work, they're likely to get one in a few months. 60% of these young people have never had a job.
And if you think about traditional views of the Labour Party and Labour governments, it's all about getting people into work.
Yeah.
And yet they're failing the youngest. And if you don't get them into work early on, it's going to be almost impossible to ever get them to work.
Yes, it can have lifelong impacts on employability and income. There may, however, be another very important factor in this rise in young adults not in education, employment or training. And we're now joined by Joe Shallam, who's the Policy Director for the Centre for Social Justice. Joe, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you have put out some figures this morning showing another factor that may be responsible for the huge rise in unemployed young Brits. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So we do a lot of work at the CSJ with the young people who are, many of them, sat at home in parents' bedrooms, desperate to work, not even hearing back often from some employers for roles that they apply for. And what we've been looking at over the last few years is trying to really understand what is going on, what are driving up the number of needs. And you've touched on some of those things already, from health to education to the welfare system. But an often overlooked part of this discussion, and something we're really keen to raise today, has been the role of very, very large flows of migration into the country over the last few years in particular. Because what we've seen is that actually employers are taking on quite a lot of young people, but they're not necessarily young British nationals in the way they would have once been. So since 2020, what our analysis has shown is that we've seen a 300,000 increase in the number of non-EU nationals on company payroll since 2020. Over the same period, the number of UK nationals on payrolls has increased by just 11,000. Oh. So what that translates into is that
had gone to British young people, those figures today wouldn't be 1.01 million NEETs. It would be more like 600 and something thousand. Still far too many. So why are they taking these jobs, these non-EU nationals, and how are they in Britain in the first place?
Well, I should say, there's absolutely no kind of individual sort of blame apportioned here for lots of people trying to, escape difficult economic circumstances in other part of the world. Things can look very attractive in Britain, and lots of people have moved here to work. Many have come here not to work as well, it should also be said. But this is really a product of the sweeping changes that were made under the previous Conservative government to hugely liberalise the migration system, which led to a profound increase in the numbers of non-EU nationals moving here, and particularly, strikingly, I think, moving into the sectors like hospitality and retail. We've seen a 500,000 increase in non-EU nationals in those two sectors alone, which are the kind of sectors where young British nationals would ordinarily be taking their first steps into the workplace. So yeah, there's been a few different things that have led to this situation as we see it now.
And do we know, Joe, is there a particular country there where these young people have come from?
India, Pakistan, Nigeria are among the top three. But it has been phenomenally striking that the inversion, if you like, after the Brexit referendum and the Brexit kind of deal was implemented and introduced, in that the number of EU nationals in these roles has fallen, and it's really been the non-EU nationals that have increased that. But fundamentally, this has to be about putting British young people first. And I think Alan Milburn is absolutely right in recognising across the piece, from welfare to health to education, we need to change the incentives so that we can get more of those young people getting on and taking on all the opportunities that come with work.
And Joe, what about getting that first job, aged 15 or 16, a Saturday job? I know from personal experience how difficult it is with my own teenagers who are perfectly capable of doing a job like that, who would be an asset to a cafe or a bar or something like that. And yet so many companies now look at health and safety legislation, look at the liability, look at the cost and think it's too much hassle. What can we do about that?
Oh, it's such a missed opportunity for me, this. You know, it's one of those core things in your early adolescence to get some skills of punctuality, of interacting with other people, maybe even being told off by your boss. You know, some of these things that really do set you up well early on in your career. I mean, I do think there's, you know, some big questions to be asked about the kind of costs that we are loading onto employers now, from wages, but also much more recently to taxes, and indeed energy costs and the other kinds of things that employers are having to grapple with day to day. It's making it much less attractive for them to take that chance on a kind of plucky youngster. They're going to go for someone a little bit older, perhaps seen as a little bit more reliable, if they are to employ anyone at all. So I think we need to re-inject a bit of dynamism, a bit more confidence into the economy and the labour market, and that will flow through with huge benefits for British young people.
Can I just go back to this issue of why the foreign nationals are taking these jobs? Is there any suggestion, Joe, that actually it's because the British youngsters simply don't want to do the jobs?
Well, I mean, that's not a view that I hold. And you know, when I speak to young people, you know, you see in their eyes the desperation to work. People want the opportunities. And I mean, look, forgive me for sounding perhaps like a little bit of a 1980s kind of union chief, but I really think it's incumbent on employers to make the roles attractive, to pay well, to create the progression opportunities for young people. I'm not taken by the Zach Polanski view that, you know, we should just have, you know, foreign nationals doing the most difficult jobs. No, we should pay better, we should make conditions better, and we should, you know, put pride of place in a lot of these roles for British young people in the way that, frankly, they deserve.
But how much has the minimum wage actually destroyed that differential? So you can argue, it's a perfectly reasonable argument to say young people should be paid a reasonable wage for doing a job. But on the other hand, if they could be paid less, they're living at home, they don't have necessarily the same kind of expenses that older adults do. If they could be paid less, they could outcompete somebody older for that same job and get their foot on the ladder. Surely that would be better overall for the crisis that we're now facing.
I mean, I do think, you know, part of this is about organically what happens with, you know, the levels of wage levels that employers are setting. But a big part of the challenge here has been the sort of over-encroachment of statutory rules around wage levels, which, you know, beginning with good intentions, as all policies do, I think has probably sort of run away with itself now. And when you compare Britain to the likes of the Netherlands, which has a much smoother sort of gradient up of minimum wage by age level, you see much lower levels of NEET and high levels of youth unemployment. So I do think we've taken a wrong turn there. Politically unwinding that, I mean, you know, it's a very difficult argument to make, to say we should reduce those wage levels once they've hit that level. I think, you know, freezing them may be one option. But it's absolutely a key part of this, you're right.
Joe Shallum, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's Joe Shallum, the Policy Director at the Centre for Social Justice.
It's profoundly depressing, isn't it?
It is.
And it is interesting, Alan Milburn, in that big report he's done, does not acknowledge the impact of foreign nationals in our jobs market for young people.
And looking at these figures, that seems to me the biggest factor.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the figures that the CSJ have discovered is that between December 2024 and December 2025, so last year essentially, the number of non-EUs under 25s on payrolls increased by 33,000. The number of UK nationals under 25s fell by 32,000. Just direct displacement.
And anecdotally, I would say I've noticed in quite a lot of bars and restaurants a lot more staff from India.
Yeah. But why is that? Why are employers...
Are they paying them less?
Are they paying them less? Are the jobs not being advertised? I mean, one of the things that the CSJ recommend is reinstating the law that says that you have to advertise to British people first.
Yeah.
That was scrapped in 2020.
Remember Gordon Brown, British jobs for British workers?
Yeah, which would be so. But of course, the Alan Milburn report is a very important intervention, but without mentioning immigration and the role of immigration, it does seem to be missing a trick.
I'm afraid it does. Tell us what you think. As always, now, still ahead, find out how transgender taxpayers get fast-tracked when calling HMRC. We couldn't make this up, really.
But up next, ministers are calling on the Prime Minister to U-turn on North Sea oil. Will Sir Keir Starmer have to consult Ed Miliband first, though?
For that, if you want some holiday sun, we've had quite a lot of good weather here, haven't we? Here's the forecast, and I suspect we're still warmer than we are on the Costa Dorada.
Well, we certainly are in this studio,
Yes, we certainly are.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Well, the hot weather's not just continuing across the UK, it's also continuing across western and central parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine to go alongside that too. Temperatures widely in the high 20s, if not pushing into the low 30s across parts of Italy and many inland areas of Europe. Mostly dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see the odd shower across parts of Italy and also Greece. The sunshine's here to stay over the weekend and into next week, alongside those high temperatures, widely pushing into the low 30s across Italy.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Now, GB News' motto could be, bring me your cancelled masses yearning to breathe free. And so I'm delighted to give him a platform on this programme. Delighted to say that Mario joins me now. Mario, I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. Shall we just recap for a moment why you believe that the Elgin marble should remain in the British Museum? You've argued that on this programme before, but it was a while ago.
Absolutely. There are two orders of reasons. One is that the Greek claim is basically bogus because it's made on the assumption that they were stolen, which is completely false and unsupported by the extant historical documentation, which is quite clear. We have the grant of permission, even in translation. We have plenty of witnesses at the time who were in Athens who saw this permission in the original and who say Lord Elgin was empowered to do whatever he did because of this permission. So this is one way. The other reason is that now they are an integral part of British culture and an integral part, a fundamental asset of the British Museum. So even if you have full sympathy for the Greek aspiration to recompose an ancient monument that has been broken, first of all, this is not possible anymore because 1/3 of the decoration is gone and they are not putting whatever is remaining back on the temple. And second of all, you cannot break another cultural asset, another cultural collection that has had such a profound impact in our cultural history, in Western civilization cultural history, and just because of a nationalistic view.
I understand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 10 to 10. We are live on GB News.
Well, the Prime Minister is facing even more pressure now to rethink his climate change secretary's stance on naughty oil and gas after Tony Blair's intervention yesterday.
Well, this follows, as Andrew said, the former Prime Minister accusing the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, of pushing a fantasy and saying that China, the world's largest greenhouse gas emitter, did not care about his beliefs.
He's so right about that. I'm sure we don't even know who Ed Miliband is. Let's talk to John Grant, who's a lecturer in sustainable construction and climate change. John, good morning. We've spoken to you before, and always a pleasure.
Good morning.
Blair has little time for the green strategy of Mr Miliband, but we know the Prime Minister feels his hands are constrained by his Secretary of State. It's not for him to overrule him or to permit massive new investment in the North Sea.
Well, it's not up to Blair to comment on current government policies when he hasn't, he's not embedded in that and embedded in the mid to long-term strategy, to be fair. We have so many opportunities ahead of us that we're about to squander by short-termism. Yes, the poor people need some support, and that needs to be done. But whilst we have private companies running these oil and gas fields, there's no way that there's a direct relationship. If we'd have kept the ownership of these, even though I'd be massively against expanding them, at least we would have some way of influencing the price. But we're buying gas and oil on the global market. And
but John, just because exploiting North Sea gas and oil wouldn't result in a direct fall in our energy bills, it doesn't mean that it wouldn't have a very positive contribution to the economy overall. So, for example, if the North Sea oil and gas drilling were to take place and the Treasury got a load of tax revenue from it and it improved our balance of payment, that would strengthen the pound, that would make everything cheaper, that would cut inflation, that would give our economy greater confidence, that would make life cheaper for all of us. Just because it doesn't have a direct impact on energy bills doesn't mean that actually it would be very, very positive for the British economy.
That's a good point. There are loads of things that we can do to increase our economic activity, and expansion of oil and gas is one of them. It's just really awful when you look at the long-term impacts associated with burning fossil fuels.
Yeah, but we're going to burn some of these fossil fuels, aren't we? Regardless of whether it comes from the North Sea or anywhere else.
But we need a transition. We need to invest and
during that transition, why not use our own oil and gas?
Because there are better opportunities associated with pursuing a greener agenda. For every pound spent, we're going to save £5 in the future if we follow green strategies here. There are some fantastic engineering solutions that are not based on oil and gas that we can grow our economy with.
John, can I jump in here? Because we know the Prime Minister told us only last week that as we will now be buying effectively oil products from Russia. How can that be sustainable? How can that be morally sustainable? So we're effectively going to be bankrolling Putin's war against Ukraine, and we're supposed to be supporting Ukraine.
Absolutely. I and this is why I really want to move away from oil and gas as much as possible and as rapidly as possible. We need to be making everything electric, and that electricity needs to be produced by the much cheaper renewable energy systems that we've currently got online and that we can bring online. We are the Saudi Arabia of wind power here in the western part of Europe, and we're only just starting to take advantage of that, as well as the massive tidal and wave and other renewable resources that are much more reliable actually than solar, which is great at the moment, but as you always remind me, sun don't shine at night. But there are some fantastic sort of other technologies that we could invest in immediately, which is some things like utility scaled batteries, so that if we can move the electricity from these renewable energy sources, we can do that. But our National Grid, privately owned company, just posted 15% profits over and above what it did last year. 4 billion, National Grid, private company. How about we share some of that money rather than extracting more oil and gas to ultimately burn the future,
But John,
rather than invest in the future?
But John, why are the two things mutually exclusive? Because, yes, of course there's an argument for investing in renewables, particularly battery technology. That would be extremely helpful. But even the most ardent net zero advocates agree that we are going to be reliable on fossil fuels for some time to come. That's just completely unarguable. If you stopped using gas today, we'd be plunged into the dark ages. I don't think many people are advocating for that. So given that we are going to need gas for some time, why not use our own? Given this huge pressure that British economy is currently under because of our poor balance of payments, because of inflation, doesn't this kill many birds with one stone?
Well, including, I mean, the one thing you left out there was climate change.
Yes, but,
when you
John, you have to accept that wherever we get it from, we are going to use fossil fuels for some time to come. There are no borders in the sky. It doesn't matter who is burning the fossil fuels and where. It will have the same overall impact.
And if we start extracting a new field, we're going to empty that field, because that's what private companies do. So every new field we start, we are committing to extracting all of that amount of oil and gas, in addition to the reserves that we already have. I get what you're saying, and even though I say it through gritted teeth, because of this debate that we've had now for 30 years, where I keep saying we need to transition as fast as possible, everyone keeps saying, oh, we need to kick that can down the road and carry on as usual.
John Grant, I'm so sorry, we are running out of time,
line.
but thank you so much for putting up a good argument this morning. We very much appreciate it.
He always does. He always does. Fascinating beard he's got, that man. Now, find out how Lord Manderson was still pulling strings behind the scenes, telling cabinets how to do their jobs while he was ambassador in Washington. Of course he was.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. A broken down vehicle affects traffic on the A9 northbound between Auchterarder and Aberystwyth. In Surrey, there are 10-minute delays on the M25 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 12. Traffic slows on the M4 between junctions 26 Malpas and 24 Coldra. Lane closures on Durham's A1M northbound between junctions 60 and 61 due to a collision should be clear by 1:30 this afternoon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services face disruptions between Oxford and Worcester Shrub Hill, Banbury, Chesterfield and Derby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 o'clock on Thursday, the 28th of May. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
And real crisis in youth unemployment. The number of NEETs that's not in education, training or employment has hit a post-pandemic high of 1.01 million, as the former Labour Health Secretary Alan Milburn warns of a lost generation.
It's not a shortage of effort on their part, it's a shortage of opportunity, and frankly, it's a shortage of support. Opportunity from employers, support from the government. Both need to be improved.
But had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
No one likes a backseat driver. New released files show that Lord Mandelson told cabinet members how to do their job from behind the scenes whilst he was US ambassador.
Yes, surprise, surprise. Lord Mandelson was giving unsolicited advice to ministers. But what will this do for the Mandelson scandal? Could this finally be the end of Keir Starmer? Find out more with me very soon.
Drill, baby, drill. Some ministers are now pushing for a North Sea U-turn after Sir Tony Blair blasted Labour's obsession with green gold. But will Ed Miliband, the Net Zero Secretary, allow the Prime Minister to change his position?
Under statute, that is a matter for the Secretary of State, as she knows.
What I did make clear to them, though, was that when it comes to pay, the offer on the table is a really good one.
And the Health Secretary, James Murray, has had his first run-in with resident doctors who are going to strike for the 16th time over pay.
And now they're getting their very own hotline. Transgender taxpayers are to be handed fast-track access to an HMRC help desk used by royals and politicians.
We'll have to just finish the job. They're negotiating on fumes.
Well, we've heard this before. Peace talks have stalled. Donald Trump says Iran is running on fumes and the deal is nowhere near the finish line.
Squeaky bun time, they're calling it. The Great British Ice Bun is in peril as one bakery claims people's tastes are a lot more sophisticated now.
Andrew, I know we're all used to headlines about immigration, but I think this analysis from the Centre for Social Justice is absolutely extraordinary. Was it a 300% increase in non-EU under 25s employed in the British economy?
Since 2020.
Since 2020. Meanwhile, the number of UK youths has gone up by just 11,000, so nothing.
No.
Absolutely extraordinary. So huge impact on the crisis in NEETs. Just displacement.
And they're coming from Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and a lot of them are working in the hospitality industry. You may have noticed that when you go to your local restaurant, cafe or pub. Is it because the British young people don't want to do the work, or do employers think the foreign nationals work harder?
Yeah, that could be. It could be more, they feel they're more reliable.
Yeah.
Or is it something to do with the fact that there's no longer a legal duty to advertise to Brits first?
Okay. And is it also because young people have got out of the habit of working? Do you remember the fabled paper round, working behind it? I mean, I had part-time jobs from the age of 14.
Well, perhaps that's it. Perhaps British young people just don't have that work experience. And on so many applications it says, what is your work experience? Well, you've got to have a first shot at it. Maybe people coming from abroad are coming with experience that employers value. But this has to be something the government looks at. Of course, the welfare system and jobs tax is a very, very important factor, but this is huge.
And Alan Milburn's very important report, which we've been talking about on GB News today, does not make any mention of that huge influx of foreign nationals taking those jobs. A third of them, of the 1.1 million, have gone to foreign nationals. Extraordinary.
Very, very big.
Tell us what you think. Send your views. Maybe you've got one of those young people at home who's not in employment, training or a job. What do you identify the problem as? Post your comments to
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Miriam, thank you very much. The top stories. The number of young people not in employment, education or training increased to a post-pandemic high of over 1 million in the 3 months from January to March, the Office for National Statistics has announced this morning. It's as a major review has also warned that 1 in 6 young people will not be in education, employment or training within 5 years unless urgent action is taken. Its author, former Minister Alan Milburn, says the education, health and welfare systems are no longer fit for purpose in preparing young people for adult life. He also warned the number of 16 to 24-year-olds out of work, education or training is set to rise to 1.25 million by 2031. Well, the former Health Secretary spoke to GB News this morning.
Honestly, I know people say this, the snowflake generation, the generation that are soft, that are not resilient, that are not trying. Honestly, I go around the country, I talk to people, you talk to young people putting in dozens, sometimes hundreds of job applications, never getting a response, and it's the silence that kills. It dents their confidence, it kills their hope. The polling that we've done amongst young people, these people who are NEET, non-education, employment and training, 84% of them want to be in a job. It's not a shortage of effort on their part, it's a shortage of opportunity, and frankly, it's a shortage of support. Opportunity from employers, support from the government. Both need to be improved.
Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary Helen Whately says the issue is that the Labour government is failing to back British businesses.
Actually, one of the first things that the government should be doing is backing businesses to create jobs. Instead, every single decision that Keir Starmer's government has made since they got into power has actually made it harder for young people to get into work. Labour has killed 300,000 jobs since they've been in power. Their jobs tax, employment rights bill, that's more red tape, plus their failure to reform welfare, making it harder for young people to get into work. So yes, it is a complex situation. There are things you need to do in education, there are things you need to do in welfare, but actually most fundamentally, stop killing jobs and back businesses to create them. That's the first thing that any government should do.
In other news, a man is fighting for his life after a crash between a car and a pedestrian in Golders Green last night. A 41-year-old Iranian national was found injured at the scene and was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver of the vehicle, an Iraqi national aged 39, was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm, serious injury by dangerous driving and failing to provide a drug sample. He remains in custody. Elsewhere, the Israeli military has issued evacuation orders for large parts of southern Lebanon, declaring the area's combat zones ahead of fresh strikes against Hezbollah. The IDF said it would act with extreme force, accusing Hezbollah of repeated ceasefire violations. It's the largest evacuation order since the ceasefire took effect on the 17th of April, covering about 14% of Lebanese territory. Earlier on Wednesday, Israel carried out strikes on the southern city of Tyre. Hezbollah, which has accused Israel of violating the ceasefire, said its fighters had clashed with Israeli troops. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says a deal with Iran is not there yet, adding he is not currently satisfied with the agreement. In remarks at a cabinet meeting yesterday, the president said Iran is intent on a deal, but that if a deal is not reached, he may just have to finish the job. President Trump went on to say that in an initial framework of the deal, the Strait of Hormuz would open immediately. He added that he is not considering easing sanctions on Iran and that any deal must be perfect. Well, that's as the US military has carried out strikes on Iran, targeting a military site in Bandar Abbas, a strategic port city. In response, the IRGC said it had targeted a US airbase without providing details of its location. Now, at least 9 people have died after getting into difficulty in open water during the record-breaking UK heatwave this week. The family of 12-year-old Junior Slater, who died while swimming with his friends in the River Ribble on Tuesday, paid tribute, saying he was the life and soul of our lives. He's one of 7 young people to have died in water-related incidents in England over the last few days, after records were broken for May's highest ever temperatures in parts of the country. The RNLI has also warned of the very real risk of swimming in open water during the heatwave. Strike action has been effective at bringing the government to the negotiating table in the past. That's according to the British Medical Association, ahead of a 4-day strike next month. Resident doctors will be striking from the 15th to the 19th of June as part of their long-running dispute with the government over pay. The BMA is saying there could be more to come in July, saying the new Health Secretary James Murray had not improved the government's offer. Chair of the Resident Doctors Committee, Dr Jack Fletcher, says they are still vague on new jobs and there is no further money on the table. And in sport, departing boss Oliver Glasner felt Crystal Palace finally got what they deserved after beating Rayo Vallecano 1-0 in Leipzig to win the Conference League and book a place in the Europa League next season. It was Palace's first European final and only the second major trophy in the club's history. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, a new tranche of files are set to reveal Peter Mandelson was repeatedly offering advice, interfering in my view, and direction to members of Keir Starmer's cabinet while he was in Washington as ambassador.
Well, let's get the thoughts of GB News' political correspondent Olivia Utley, who joins us in the studio. Good morning, Olivia. The phrase that comes to mind is backseat driver. Mandelson was trying to interfere with what was going on. Is there any indication that the cabinet members were actually welcoming his views?
Well, I think that is a very good question. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anyone who knows anything about Peter Mandelson to know that he was sticking his oar in and trying to give cabinet ministers advice. Whitehall has claimed that the advice was mostly unsolicited and that on a regular basis, Keir Starmer's cabinet did not consult Peter Mandelson about matters which weren't related to the US. That implies, though, that there was a little bit of consultation between cabinet ministers and Peter Mandelson. And, of course, this is very serious indeed. Not only did the UK vetting agencies suggest that Peter Mandelson be refused vetting because of his links with Jeffrey Epstein, they were also concerned about his links with the Chinese finance minister. Now, if it emerges that there was some sort of influence, that the Chinese were asserting influence on Peter Mandelson, and Peter Mandelson was then lobbying government ministers, possibly to act in China's bidding, then the government could have a really big problem on its hands. This is all very speculative. We don't know yet. We are expecting to see the new tranche of documents next week, and that will reveal so much more. But I think one thing is for certain, this is not the end of the Peter Mandelson saga for Keir Starmer.
And do we know, was he talking specifically to certain ministers regularly? Because we know he was great friends, after all, with Wes Streeting, who was the Health Secretary.
Exactly, and I think that we don't yet know. It will come out, because in this humble address, we will see the messages between which ministers, how often it was occurring. We know that Wes Streeting has had a relationship with Peter Mandelson in the past. Wes Streeting's partner worked for Peter Mandelson. They were on the same sort of dinner party circuit for a while. Wes Streeting tried to sort of preempt criticism of that by publishing some communication between himself and Peter Mandelson, in which Peter Mandelson said that the government didn't have a clear enough growth strategy. So clearly at some point Peter Mandelson did have the ear of Wes Streeting. Of course, this is very damaging for Keir Starmer, but Wes Streeting is about to enter into a leadership contest, we suspect, if Andy Burnham wins in June. And this could be very, very awkward for him as well. So much more to come out. Really looking forward to seeing this tranche of documents next week.
Olivia, there has been a sense this week of getting the old New Labour band back together. We've had interventions from Tony Blair, Alan Milburn today, of course, Peter Mandelson back in the news. Do you think there's a sense that the current Labour government is just lacking experience? And whether or not you agree with what these ex-ministers stand for, at least they do have the benefit of time in the public eye, which so many of Labour's front benchers, some of them were only elected in 2024, now on the ministerial benches, they just lack.
Well, there's certainly an element of that, and I think Keir Starmer himself is quite aware of that. Remember, he brought in Gordon Brown to a minor position within the government a couple of weeks ago. But what seems to be happening is that it looks as though that sort of old New Labour movement is beginning to lock horns with the Keir Starmer government. It looks as though they're sort of running out of patience. When Keir Starmer was first elected, it looked as though him and Tony Blair were very close, sort of singing off the same hymn sheet. Tony Blair has now issued this blistering attack on the Labour Party, which has been criticised both by Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham. Alan Milburn, although of course this report was commissioned by the government, it does seem to be pretty frank in its assessment of the government. And now there's obviously a row between Peter Mandelson and Keir Starmer. So it looks as though that relationship between Starmer and Blair's sort of contemporaries, which was so strong just a few years ago, seems to be fraying now. And how will that impact Keir Starmer's governing style?
Indeed, indeed.
Well, thank you very much, Olivia. And I understand you've got an important press conference to go to, so we may be hearing from you again later on the programme. Let's take a look at some of your emails now, gbnews.com/you'll say. You've been getting in touch. Back to the question of the rise in not in education, employment or training for young people. John says minimum wage levels for young people being too high is a key factor, but over-regulation also restricts the opportunities available. I think that's so true. A lot of the big chains won't employ under 16s,
but they have to get to the bottom of why so many of those jobs have been taken by foreign nationals.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just have to get to the bottom of it. What's going on? Why are these Pakistani, Indian and Nigerians taking these jobs, which they should, but after all, by priority, go to our kids?
Absolutely. Bren says it's also down to the almost complete collapse in our manufacturing industries. When I left school, I went to an employment agency. They gave me, within an hour, 5 appointments for an interview the following week. The papers are full this morning of stories of young people who've tried extremely hard to get jobs and not even
didn't get a reply.
A single interview.
Yeah.
One chap who it seemed perfectly intelligent and good at communicating, applied for hundreds of jobs. The only interview he got was to be a cleaner, and he didn't even get the job. So something is going on here that we need to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, very worried. Now, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win that whopping £76,543. And don't forget the 21 pence, of course, tax-free in time for the summer. Here's the details.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next on Britain's Newsroom, the number of NEETs, that's young people with no jobs or education or training, has hit a post-pandemic high of 1.01 million people. What's going wrong?
It's really bad, isn't it? And some breaking news. 4 people have been stabbed by a knifeman shouting Ali Akbar at a train station in Switzerland. Mark White, our Home Security Editor, will have more after the break. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We have some breaking news now for you from Switzerland. Mark White joins us in the studio.
Very worrying development. Reports of a stabbing attack that's taking place at a train station at Winterthur, which is northwest of Zurich, involving a man apparently who's gone on the rampage, stabbing multiple people. You can see the images there that appear to show the moments after the stabbing attack, a man suspect running down the street. And according to eyewitnesses, this man was heard shouting multiple times, Allahu Akbar, as he stabbed and then ran off. At the moment, we're told of 4 people with knife injuries. No word on how significantly injured they are. But there is a very heavy police presence, as you would imagine. Paramedic vehicles are there triaging those that have been injured. According to local law enforcement, a 31-year-old man was arrested at or near the scene in connection with this. Whether this is a suspect or not, that's not been confirmed. But these, as I say, very concerning reports of a stabbing attack, a man who is reported to have stabbed at least 4 people. There were significant crowds outside this busy train station, including young children, could be seen on the video as well at the time. And a 31-year-old man now in custody in connection with this. Eyewitnesses reporting that as the attacker was seen running away, he was shouting Allahu Akbar, God is great, of course, in Arabic, multiple times.
I was just going to ask Mark, Switzerland, I'm just looking it up here, largely spared major Islamic-style terror attacks thus far.
Yes, but of course in other parts of Northern Europe and around Sweden, they've got a very significant problem. I mean, there have been incidents in Switzerland in recent years as well. There's barely a country in Europe that has not been touched by Islamist terrorism. We don't know, obviously, given that we are hearing about reports that this man had shouted Allahu Akbar. Attention is obviously turning to the possibility of this being an Islamist attack, inspired attack. That will come out in the fullness of time. But security services throughout Europe are on heightened alert at the moment because there has been quite an uptick in the number of terror-related incidents in multiple countries that have been linked back to the conflict in Gaza and the wider Middle East, also involving the likes of the war in Iran. That has got the security services in this country and elsewhere in Europe very concerned. You'll remember that our terror threat level, which was up substantial just a few weeks ago, was raised to severe, meaning that a terrorist attack is highly likely in the weeks and months ahead. So a great deal of concern, and this will be monitored by police and security services across Europe as to what unfolded here at about 8 a.m. in the morning local time.
Mark, do you think any European nations are rethinking the Schengen arrangement? Because, of course, Switzerland has very strict immigration policies. Of course, they have a lot of foreign nationals living in the country because they're the headquarters for a lot of international organisations. But in terms of non-Western immigration, I think just about 6% of the population is from other parts of the world. It's pretty strict in terms of work visas, but they are part of the Schengen agreement, which means essentially they have open borders.
Yeah, and we've seen actually around Germany and some other countries, there has been a move of late to increasing certain checks. So it's not full sort of border security checks when you enter another country like Germany, but more police patrols, sporadic stopping and checking of vehicles coming across the border and into their countries. But yeah, it's very difficult under Schengen to, you know, reinstitute proper border checks that would fly against what the European Union project is, and I'm sure there would be stiff resistance to that. But there is a significant problem in Europe, which is the free passage of very extremist individuals who might domicile in one country but want to go out and carry out some form of extremist, violent extremism in another country. They've got that ability at the moment to move relatively freely throughout Europe.
Well, Switzerland aren't even in the EU, but they've chosen to be part of Schengen for trade reasons, but maybe they will be reconsidering that.
All right, Mark, you'll keep us posted on that. We're now got our panels with us. It's Carol Malone and our senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. So, Carol Malone, we've heard this morning that the number of people, young, the NEETs, not in employment, not in education, has gone over, smashed through the 1 million mark, the highest now since, I think it's the financial crisis. Yeah. It's a shocking lost generation.
It is shocking, but, you know, we didn't need Mr Miliband to tell us that, because we already knew that. And you know, the Labour Party have been told that for the last year. You know, we saw what happened when they tried to cut benefits. And this is the big problem. You know, 1 million people, 500,000 of those 1 million people, there's no, they don't even have to look for work. There's no requirement on them to even look for work. So we're paying benefits to this generation of young people. There was a survey out recently that said that a lot of young people now don't see benefits as just like an interim leg up. They see it as a way of life. They want to live on benefits. They don't want to work. Now, it is a terrible situation in this country where we have tens of thousands of young people claiming mental health issues, anxiety, depression. Yes, there are. I'm not saying there are not serious mental health issues, but a lot of the issues that are being paid out for currently are not serious. They're anxiety, they're a bit of depression, they're people are feeling fed up, they don't want to go to work. And I think we can't just blame the government. We have to blame. A lot of the blame has to be put on who's supposed to be instilling the work ethic in young people.
But Carol, if they can't get that first job, what are they supposed to do? Schools don't do work experience anymore.
Really, they can get a job.
Let me finish. That's not actually true. And we've heard in the statistics, in what Alan Milburn is saying, so many jobs have hundreds of applicants for one place. Even entry-level jobs like cleaning and working in shops. And 84% of young people do want to work. I'm sure there are issues with benefits, of course there are. But I just think this characterisation of young people as lazy and no good is just wrong.
Well, it's not a characterisation. 1 million of them are out of work.
Yes, we know that, Carl. That's the statistic.
So don't tell me that 1 million people can't get a job. Because maybe they can't get the kind of job that they want, but they can get a job. There are lots of jobs in cafes and stores.
Yeah, but they're all going to foreign nationals. That's what we're learning this morning.
But what about the extraordinary revelation we've heard today from the Centre for Social Justice, Nigel, that there's been a third almost now since 2020. There's been a 355% increase in these jobs being taken by foreign national young people, mainly from Pakistan, India, Nigeria. How has that happened? Why are they taking the jobs that the local kids won't do, can't do, or aren't offered?
Exactly.
What's the problem?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's in Alan Milburn.
It's not in his report. The CCJ have done their own separate analysis of the HMRC
well,
figures.
given he's been spending quite some time on this, I'm surprised he hasn't looked then at immigration and what effect it has.
I think it's a failing in this report.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, it's not published until 11 o'clock, so we'll find out if it is. I mean, it depends what those jobs were. That there is still
a lot of it's hospitality, apparently.
Well, and also presumably in the care sector, and there's still 100,000 vacancies there. I mean, I think, unlike Carol, I think this report is high time. I think Alan Milburn was absolutely right to actually do it. And what he seems to have identified, I mean, Miriam just mentioned 84% of youngsters do want to work. That's one of his findings. Another of his findings is that they're firing off hundreds of emails to try and get an apprenticeship or work, and don't even get a reply. I've got a 17-year-old who's sitting at home at the moment who's doing exactly the same thing, and nobody has the courtesy to actually give them a reply. So,
as was always the case, though.
Well, it wasn't always the case.
It was always the case.
No, it wasn't, because when I was younger, I don't remember ever having a problem about getting a job.
Oh, I do.
Nor did my friends.
I wrote 40 letters to get my first newspaper job.
Well, I wrote 16, and I got one interview, and I put every single one had a stamp addressed envelope in,
exactly.
which my mum made me do.
Yes.
And they still didn't reply.
Yes. So
and I thought, what have they done? Steamy stamp off?
In which case, then, the employers are extremely bad-mannered.
Yes,
they
are.
And they're continuing to be bad-mannered. And one of the things that Alan Milburn is saying is, at least people deserve a reply. Because all it does is they become dispirited and then discouraged about doing it in the future.
The thing is, you always get... I mean, I got dispirited after writing 39 letters where I barely got a response. But then the 40th one came up with something, and there's a lesson in that if you keep on at it, you're going to get a job. But I think we have a problem with that today. I think kids aren't being taught the work ethic. We're talking about these jobs that you're talking about in hospitality. Why aren't kids here doing that?
Because unfortunately, because of over-regulation, employers will not take on under 16s. Like none of the big chains. They're legally allowed to, but none of the big chains, Tesco, none of the...
How do we know the foreign nationals are on
Well, they're at 18.
No, these figures are for 16
Tesco
to
is
24.
18.
Exactly, Tesco's 18.
They won't even apply shelf standards until they're 18.
All the adverts say work experience necessary. Now, if you have zero opportunity to get any work experience necessary until you're 18, and every job...
This is not new. This is always been the case.
It used to be the case that under 16s could get jobs.
I'm older than you, and I know. It's not always been the case. It's always been the case.
Carol, don't they? I mean, I've got teenagers currently...
No, they don't change. That's my point, Miriam. They don't change. If you get turned down for jobs when you're a kid,
but that's not what I'm saying.
The difference now is kids give up. Back 20 years ago, they didn't give up.
I think it's materially more difficult now for an under 16 to get any kind of job, Saturday job, pub, shop, because of the way that the regulations has changed. And if you walk into a high street chain, they will say, we do not employ under 18s, we do not employ under 16s.
You can't work in a pub if you're under 18. Of course you can't.
You can.
Well, no, you can't.
You can't serve alcohol, but you can work in a pub.
Well, what's the point of you working in a pub if you can't serve alcohol?
But also, it's the decline of corner shops, it's the decline of paper rounds. We did as kids.
Well, I mean, papers.
Exactly. People don't buy the papers.
There was a report out recently that actually said there were tens of thousands of young people who'd never had a Saturday job, never stacked a supermarket shelf, never served coffee. You know,
because they're not allowed to. This is the problem. This is what I'm trying to get at, is that because of over-regulation...
Well, how are the foreign nationals getting all
this? Because these are statistics for 18s to 24s, OK?
So if a foreign... 16 to 24.
No. 16-year-olds are having trouble getting jobs. These are statistics for under 24s. Now, if foreign nationals come over age 22, 23, and let's say in India or Pakistan they have worked and they can show their employer, we've got work experience, they're obviously ahead of a 16-year-old Brit who has never been able to get a... Do you see what I'm saying? So, from an employer's point of view...
You keep on saying it to me, but I'm not accepting it. There are some jobs that 16-year-olds will do. I get why they're not being employed in bars and pubs. I get that. But there are still jobs you can do. You can stack shelves in a supermarket. Go and ask for work.
Not if the supermarket won't employ you.
So you're saying every employer in Britain is not taking anybody on?
I'm saying the big chains...
It's nonsense.
Not till they're 18.
Yeah,
I mean, you will not get a job until you're 18.
The big chains will not take anyone on under 18, and many of them... under 16. That's just a fact. I mean, it's just a fact, and it's sad for our young people. That's what we're saying. And there must be a solution to this, which is less regulation.
So what about all the young people who won't work, who are a bit fed up, a bit anxious, a bit depressed?
Well, that's certainly a phenomenon as well. But if you've been
more
trying,
than a phenomenon.
But if you have no work experience and you're trying to get a job, age 18, and no one will take you on...
to the same argument. I'm talking about the people who are claiming mental health benefits.
Do you know 1 in 10 of these young people have got degrees? What a complete waste.
But you know what? This is another part of the problem. Kids, when they go to university, they're led to believe that when they come out, they're going to get a great job. Now, if there's not a great job to be had, they don't want to take any job because they've been promised the dream of the great job.
And they've also got huge debts. So they want a decent paid job.
Yes, of course. But you know, if you've gone to university to study to be an architect and you can't get in to an architect's company, you don't really want to be serving coffee. But the bottom line is, needs must. If the benefits didn't exist in the form that they do, young people would have to get work. And the thing we have to do is make it easier for employers to employ them by cutting the national insurance
and
by
be more willing
all
to.
the
I mean,
taxes
this is something that business needs to do as well. They actually have to be more willing to give young people a chance.
Well, yeah, but they can't do it with national... Well, the NI rises. There's no money.
Well, OK. I mean, when it comes to an apprenticeship, they complain about the NI rise, I accept that, and complain about minimum wage. A minimum wage for an apprentice is nearly £3 cheaper than it would be for another worker. So they can't really complain about minimum wage because that wasn't raised for apprentices.
You talk about the minimum wage. Every report that's ever been done on the minimum wage says it puts employers off employing people. And that is the truth of it now.
Yeah, but business has always objected to the minimum wage until it didn't.
No, but now...
And then
guys, we're going to have to
accommodate it.
We'll have to carry on this conversation because we're going a little late to the headlines because we're with Tatiana Sanchez with a 60-second update.
Good morning. The top stories and breaking news this hour. A major police operation is underway after a man reportedly stabbed 4 people at a train station in Switzerland. According to reports in local media, the man shouted Allahu Akbar and stabbed 4 passers-by at the Winterthur train station. A class of schoolchildren was also said to be in the vicinity of the attack, with their teachers shielding them behind themselves. Elsewhere today, the number of young people not in employment, education or training increased to a post-pandemic high of over 1 million in the 3 months from January to March. That's according to the ONS. It says a major review has warned that 1 in 6 young people will not be in education, employment or training within 5 years unless urgent action is taken. A 41-year-old Iranian man is fighting for his life after a crash between a car and a pedestrian in Golders Green last night. Police say a 39-year-old Iraqi national was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm, serious injury by dangerous driving and failing to provide a drug sample. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me at 11 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Still ahead, we're going to get the latest from Switzerland, where 4 people have been stabbed by a knife and shouting Ali Akbar. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's another hot day ahead for most, though feeling slightly cooler in parts of the west. Nevertheless, it's going to be another dry, settled day ahead. There will be occasional showers across northern areas to begin with, though these will fade away fairly quickly. And first thing this morning, plenty of sunshine around. We'll eventually see more cloud push up from the southwest, creating hazier spells of sunshine. This cloud turning quite low around coastal areas of Wales and the southwest, so turning a little bit disappointing here. And the chance of the odd shower into the afternoon, which could turn a little bit thundery. But once again, those temperatures pushing past the 30-degree mark for the 6th day in the row. And even across eastern areas where yesterday it was a little bit cooler, it's going to be another warm day ahead. Still feeling fairly warm to finish off the day. Once again, high cloud creating hazier spells of sunshine to finish off the day. Some showers across parts of the southeast. But a fine finish to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and across parts of Scotland as well. A very warm afternoon ahead actually across western areas of Scotland. Probably the warmest day of the week so far. So through the course of the evening, it should remain fairly dry. There could be some showers across the southeast that will linger on, and we'll eventually start to see a change across parts of Scotland, turning more unsettled from the west. Some heavy showers pushing through here, some of these clipping Northern Ireland at times, but actually across the bulk of England and Wales remaining dry. But it's going to be another warm night to come. Temperatures widely not dropping below 15 to 17 degrees, so that might make it a little bit uncomfortable this evening. Now across Scotland, Northern Ireland, once again there could be some showers. These are a little bit heavier and feeling cooler here, and also we've got this layer of showers just pushing across the southeast. Once again, these could turn a little bit heavy, possibly even thundery, but still for the most part there's lots of dry weather, lots of sunshine, temperatures down a touch but still pushing widely into the high 20s. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Traffic disruptions persist on the M90 northbound at Junction 1A due to a broken down vehicle, causing significant delays. The A19 southbound in Durham is also affected between the A181 and A179 due to a one-lane closure after a collision. In Staffordshire, expect lane closures on the M6 northbound exit slip at Junction 14. In Hampshire, motorists will face a closed lane on the A3 northbound near Petersfield. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services face disruptions between Chesterfield and Derby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 20 minutes to 11.
Well, Mark White's back in the studio with that breaking news from Switzerland. Mark.
This is reports of a stabbing attack where at least 4 people have been stabbed and injured. Winterthur is a suburb of Zurich, effectively 12 miles away from Zurich in Switzerland. And the incident unfolded about 8:30 local time at this rail station. An individual, you can see we're just zooming in on a location on the map there, and we'll bring you the video as well of what we believe to be the suspect, sort of rather full head of hair there, running down outside the rail station and apparently shouting Allahu Akbar. Now, we got the same piece of video, but having enhanced the sound. And once that's ready, I'll throw to that,
sure.
and you can hear yourself. Right, so let's have a listen to it. You can just kind of, you can hear it. It's not hugely clear, but it certainly seems to back up these reports that he was shouting Allahu Akbar. Let's have a listen. Yeah, I don't know if we can re-rack and play that again, because it's right at the start and you kind of, you know, you have to really listen out for it, but it certainly sounds like Allahu Akbar a couple of times. Let's just have another listen. Yeah, I mean, it sounded like that to me. As I say, you have to be, I mean, it's right at the very start of the video sequence that we play there, but that backs up, I think, those reports of this man shouting multiple times Allahu Akbar, which of course is the Arabic for God is great.
Yes.
And is often what is shouted by these you know, disturbed individuals who are carrying out a terrorist attack in the name of Allah. What we don't know at this stage is the motivation here, whether this is, as it would appear. I mean, it seems crazy that, you know, I'm even in the process of saying we don't know, because until the police actually confirm it for us, we've got to kind of go with an abundance of caution, but certainly it has all the hallmarks of a deliberate attack, potentially an Islamist-inspired attack. And there have been, although, you know, Switzerland's not for instance, like Germany, where they've had so many terror attacks in recent years. There have been notable incidents in Switzerland as well in 2020. A man stabbed to death by an individual who had allegiances with the Islamic State. A couple of years ago, 2024, another man with allegiances to Islamic State stabbed and injured an Orthodox Jewish man as well. There was a bomb plot a few years ago. Individuals arrested with chemicals that they were preparing bombs with to carry out an attack on Swiss soil. So it's certainly an issue for Switzerland, as I say, not as bad as Germany or France, but you know, all countries in Europe at the moment are facing a heightened risk from Islamist terrorism in particular.
And Mark, do you have any idea as to the extent of the injuries of the four people who've been stabbed, or who they are?
We're told that one person that was stabbed in the thigh. Now, that doesn't sound as though it might be that serious, but of course, you've got vital arteries that run down your leg. So actually, it could be a fatal stab wound if you're hit, you know, in the likes of the femoral artery that runs down your leg as well. So that's one of those. There was an incident where there was a group of school children right in the path of this individual as he was stabbing. A teacher apparently stood in front of the children to try and protect them. I think they're all okay. But 4 people stabbed at the moment. We just don't have, as it happened a relatively short time ago, any updates on the severity of the injuries.
And of course, happened at rush hour, 8:30 local time, so plenty of commuters to witness.
Yeah, horrible. Isn't it horrible?
Indeed. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I know you'll bring us more as we hear it. But still ahead on Britain's Newsroom.
Keir Starmer is Sir Keir Starmer forcing to U-turn and using North Sea oil. He's being urged to do so by a clutch of ministers. But we know his net zero secretary, Ed Miliband, is implacably opposed. Who's going to win that battle? I put my money on Miliband.
But first, if you're not opposed to flying and you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. Well, the hot weather's not just continuing across the UK, it's also continuing across western and central parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine to go alongside that too. Temperatures widely in the high 20s, if not pushing into the low 30s across parts of Italy and many inland areas of Europe. Mostly dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see the odd shower across parts of Italy and also Greece. The sunshine's here to stay over the weekend and into next week, alongside those high temperatures, widely pushing into the low 30s across Italy.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I'm not sure that we used to celebrate VE Day or even the end of the Second World War until recent years, and that's a reflection of the fact that the veterans who fought and took part in that campaign and everyone on the home front are themselves disappearing. Yes, it's partly to do with education. There are huge political pressures on what's in education and in the history package, which of course isn't compulsory. When we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, there was a much higher understanding of what past sacrifice meant. And people, of course, were seen far more often in uniform in the streets, and they were coming back from operational service and about to depart. And that all makes a huge difference. Now, of course, war is very distant. It's in the Gulf. It's in Ukraine. It's not impacting us in the same way that it was doing about 20 years ago.
Matthew, let's bring you in at this stage. Do you think Gen Z is ignorant to Britain's war heroes, or do you think it's just a lack of curiosity?
Yeah, I don't think Gen Z are ignorant. They're just a matter of being the way they've been brought up, how they've been brought up, and when they've been brought up. You know, when this generation have been coming through school, there hasn't been the veterans, because the veterans of the Second World War and the First World War have passed away. So it's not in their face as much. The rhetoric that they're getting taught in schools has been influenced a lot in the past sort of 30, 40 years with more left-wing, and I don't mean, I'm not trying to drag this into a political bias, but there is more left-wing rhetoric getting passed out in school.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
HMRC, get this, has granted a VIP hotline access to trans people. This is usually reserved for members of the royal family and politicians. It's been provided as HMRC insists records of transgender people need greater protection to ensure confidentiality.
Well, let's speak to the director of For Women Scotland, Susan Smith. Good morning, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, this has obviously made big headlines, but I wonder if the decision by HMRC has more to do with trying to fulfil legal duties to protect gender recognition changes than a kind of a decision to suddenly become woke or pro-trans. What do you reckon?
Yeah, so this is an issue with this part of the Gender Recognition Act, Section 22, which makes it a criminal offence if people disclose information about an individual's GRC or previous identity if, and this is important, only if they've acquired it in an official capacity. But what that has meant is a lot of confusion over the years. And, you know, even back in 2018, the Employment Lawyers Association was saying this was causing problems because people were not sure what information was information they could disclose and what they had to keep secret. So there was a tendency to overreact to this. And people were granting people with gender recognition certificates this greater level of security. And so this department, I mean, as you say, it's politicians, it's royal family, it's members of the military, it's civil servants. So it's people who, you know, you might reasonably think need greater degrees of protection. But of course, I don't think people with the GRC do, and it begs the question, why does the HMRC think that their protection is more important than a lot of other people in the country? This Section 22 is a wider issue, and it is causing all sorts of problems, not just for, in this case, in the tax case, but also in things like disclosure checks. And it was a concern that we raised at the time they were talking about expanding GRCs, that this could be a means to pursue identity fraud, because if people cannot back check your records, if there's a broken thread there, people are going to take advantage of that for less than honest purposes.
And this is a big safeguarding risk as well. For example, somebody applying to work in a school, it's very difficult to run an enhanced check if you've changed identity several times.
That's right. And, you know, in the last session of the Westminster Parliament, there was a lot of talk about restricting sex offenders, for example, for changing their names. But we've got people who've been in prison who are getting GRCs. And there was a very brave woman, Kerry Lee Galpin, raised this last year because her father, who had abused her as a child, had been released from prison, but he changed his name from Clive Bundy, and he was now identifying as a woman. And she was incredibly concerned that if he applied to work with children, they might not necessarily pick up that this man was a sex offender.
It's a worry, isn't it?
Very much. Well, Susan Smith, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, an HMRC spokesperson said PD1 is not a VIP service, but a helpline for taxpayers whose records require greater protection and therefore can only be accessed by specialist staff. This can be for a number of reasons. Call wait times on our helplines for all customers now average around 10 minutes.
But, you know, what about a famous footballer?
Well, they get access to them.
Would they?
I think it's because there are 70,000 people who work for HMRC and you do not want celebrities' records to be accessible by anybody.
Right.
They need to be enhanced, security checked, surveilled, etc.
So should celebrities be treated differently to anybody else?
Well, much more coming up on GB News after the break.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's another hot day ahead for most, though feeling slightly cooler in parts of the west. Nevertheless, it's going to be another dry, settled day ahead. There will be occasional showers across northern areas to begin with, though these will fade away fairly quickly. And first thing this morning, plenty of sunshine around. We'll eventually see more cloud push up from the southwest, creating hazier spells of sunshine. This cloud turning quite low around coastal areas of Wales and the southwest, so turning a little bit disappointing here. And the chance of the odd shower into the afternoon, which could turn a little bit thundery. But once again, those temperatures pushing past the 30-degree mark for the 6th day in the row. And even across eastern areas where yesterday it was a little bit cooler, it's going to be another warm day ahead. Still feeling fairly warm to finish off the day. Once again, high cloud creating hazier spells of sunshine to finish off the day. Some showers across parts of the southeast. But a fine finish to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and across parts of Scotland as well. A very warm afternoon ahead actually across western areas of Scotland. Probably the warmest day of the week so far. So through the course of the evening, it should remain fairly dry. There could be some showers across the southeast that will linger on. And we'll eventually start to see a change across parts of Scotland, turning more unsettled from the west. Some heavy showers pushing through here, some of these clipping Northern Ireland at times. But actually across the bulk of England and Wales, remaining dry. But it's going to be another warm night to come. Temperatures widely not dropping below 15 to 17 degrees. So that might make it a little bit uncomfortable this evening. Now across Scotland, Northern Ireland, once again there could be some showers. These are a little bit heavier and feeling cooler here. And also we've got this layer of showers just pushing across the southeast. Once again, these could turn a little bit heavy, possibly even thundery. But still, for the most part, there's lots of dry weather, lots of sunshine. Temperatures down a touch, but still pushing widely into the high 20s. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Brave. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
11 o'clock on Thursday, the 28th of May, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, some breaking news from the last hour. A man has been arrested after injuring several people in a knife attack at a train station near Zurich.
Well, this was a frightening event that happened just as the morning rush hour was going through that station 12 miles from Zurich. We are told initial reports suggest the man was shouting multiple times, Allahu Akbar.
And the crisis in youth unemployment gets ever worse. The number of NEETs hits a post-pandemic high of 1.01 million as the former Labour Health Secretary Alan Milburn warns of a lost generation.
It's not a shortage of effort on their part, it's a shortage of opportunity and frankly, it's a shortage of support. Opportunity from employers, support from the government, both need to be improved.
But had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
And no one likes a backseat driver. Well, new released files show Lord Middleton told cabinet members how to do their jobs from behind the scenes whilst he was US ambassador.
And drill, baby, drill. Some ministers are now pushing for a North Sea U-turn after Sir Tony Blair blasted Labour's obsession with green goals. But will Ed Miliband, the Net Zero Climate Change Secretary, allow the Prime Minister to change his mind?
Under statute, that is a matter for the Secretary of State, as she knows.
What I did make clear to them, though, was that when it comes to pay, the offer on the table is a really good one.
Well, the new Health Secretary, James Murray, has had his first run-in with resident doctors who are going to strike for the 16th time over pay.
And there's been a heatwave crime wave. While we've been basking in glorious sunshine, those wretched criminals have been at it.
Well, as the temperature rises, so too has crime. And we have exclusive details of ongoing investigations into stabbings throughout the capital and also disorder at some seaside towns.
And some more breaking news. The Great British Iced Bun is in peril as one bakery claims that people's tastes are becoming more sophisticated.
And we will be going live to Alan Milburn because he's making a speech and then he's going to be taking some questions. He was the mobility czar, for want of a better phrase, brought in by the Starmer government to look at this whole problem of young people not in employment, educational training. It's a start report, but it's been made worse by evidence that the Centre for Social Justice has uncovered that a third of them, of jobs since 2020, have been taken by foreign nationals, aged between 18 to 24.
Exactly, and over those years, for every one British young person employed in this country, 26 non-EU nationals have been employed. An extraordinary statistic.
What is that about?
I wonder if Alan Milburn will address those figures today.
Well, we'll certainly try and get a question put to him here from GB News. Many of those young people from foreign nationals are from India, Pakistan and Nigeria, and a lot of them are working in the hospitality industry. Yeah, jobs that they could be doing here.
And a huge cut in the number of job vacancies out there as well.
Course.
Even if you are looking for work, it's become tougher. Well, send your views, post your comments by visiting
GBNews.com/you'll say. But first, here are the headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories. A major police operation is underway after a man stabbed 3 people at a train station in Switzerland. The suspected perpetrator, a 31-year-old Swiss national, was arrested. The 3 victims of the attack were receiving hospital care, according to a police statement. According to reports in local media, the man shouted Allahu Akbar and stabbed the passers-by at Winterthur train station. In other breaking news this hour, a woman who murdered her 19-day-old daughter in a violent and brutal attack has been jailed for at least 19 years. Nicole Blaine murdered her daughter Thea Wilson in Greenock in July of 2023. As she was sentenced at the High Court in Glasgow today, Lord Scott imposed a life sentence, saying it would be 19 years before Blaine could be considered for parole. The judge dismissed her absurd claims that another child had been responsible for Thea's death. The number of young people not in employment, education or training increased to a post-pandemic high of over 1 million in the 3 months from January to March, the Office for National Statistics has announced. It says a major review has warned that 1 in 6 young people will not be in education, employment or training within 5 years unless urgent action is taken. Its author, the former Minister Alan Milburn, says the education, health and welfare systems are no longer fit for purpose in preparing young people for adult life. He warned the number of 16 to 24-year-olds out of work, education or training is set to rise to 1.25 million by 2031. The former Health Secretary spoke to GB News this morning.
Honestly, I know people say this, the snowflake generation, the generation that are soft, that are not resilient, that are not trying. Honestly, I go around the country, I talk to people, you talk to young people putting in dozens, sometimes hundreds of job applications, never getting a response, and it's the silence that kills. It dents their confidence, it kills their hope. The polling that we've done amongst young people, these people who are NEET, non-education, employment and training, 84% of them want to be in a job. It's not a shortage of effort on their part, it's a shortage of opportunity, and frankly, it's a shortage of support. Opportunity from employers, support from the government. Both need to be improved.
Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary Helen Whately says the issue is that the Labour government is failing to back British businesses.
Actually, one of the first things that the government should be doing is backing businesses to create jobs. Instead, every single decision that Keir Starmer's government has made since they got into power has actually made it harder for young people to get into work. Labour has killed 300,000 jobs since they've been in power. Their jobs tax, employment rights bill, that's more red tape, plus their failure to reform welfare, making it harder for young people to get into work. So yes, it is a complex situation. There are things you need to do in education, there are things you need to do in welfare, but actually most fundamentally, stop killing jobs and back businesses to create them. That's the first thing that any government should do.
A man is fighting for his life after a crash between a car and a pedestrian in Golders Green last night. A 41-year-old Iranian national was found injured at the scene and was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver of the vehicle, an Iraqi national aged 39, was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm, serious injury by dangerous driving and failing to provide a drug sample. He remains in custody. The Israeli military has issued evacuation orders for large parts of southern Lebanon, declaring the areas combat zones ahead of fresh strikes against Hezbollah. The IDF said it would act with extreme force, accusing Hezbollah of repeated ceasefire violations. It's the largest evacuation order since the ceasefire took effect on the 17th of April, covering about 14% of Lebanese territory. Earlier on Wednesday, Israel carried out strikes on the southern city of Tyre. Hezbollah, which has accused Israel of violating the ceasefire, said its fighters had clashed with Israeli troops. And in sport, departing boss Oliver Glasner felt Crystal Palace finally got what they deserved after beating Rayo Vallecano 1-0 in Leipzig to win the Conference League and book a place in the Europa League next season. It was Palace's first European final and only the second major trophy in the club's history. Those are the latest headlines. Here's the finance.
taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.34 and 1.15 euros. The price of gold, £3,276, and the FTSE 100's at 10,407 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Kate.
Well, Mark White's back in the studio with us to give us the latest update from that worrying breaking news in Switzerland where several people have been stabbed at a railway station at rush hour this morning. Mark.
Yeah, this is a suburb called Winterthur, which is about 12 miles from Zurich. It was busy in the morning, just after 8 a.m. local time, so the station itself was packed. When this individual began, it seems, randomly stabbing people within the station, he was then seen running from the station and shouting Allahu Akbar. Now, we've got a bit of video that when we played that to you last hour, you couldn't quite hear it. So we've just bumped up the volume a bit and repeated the key phrases. But it certainly sounds like this man is shouting that Arabic word for God is great, Allahu Akbar. Have a listen to this. So I think when you play it like that, with the volume up and just a chance to repeat it and hear it, it certainly sounds very much like that is Allahu Akbar. So this individual is described as a 31-year-old Swiss national. We don't know exactly what his sort of ethnicity is or indeed his background, whether it was an immigration status at some point. You know, just because you're a Swiss national doesn't mean you were always a Swiss national. So we await those details as they come in. But the 31-year-old, according to the Swiss police, is in custody. Now, we were told 4 people had been stabbed. Some reports now have lowered the number to 3. 3 individuals have been taken to local trauma centres. We don't have an update on the severity of the injuries. One report suggested 1 man had been stabbed in the thigh, but nothing more than that. There was apparently groups of children in there, probably heading off to school as well. There was a teacher who apparently, according to local reports, had stepped in the way of this individual as he carried on this stabbing rampage to ensure that the children were safe. But we're told, certainly from the reports we've got, no indication of any children having been stabbed and caught up in this in that sense. But there, you're looking at a video as well of an individual running down the street, quite distinctive in a kind of black top with, it looks like black shorts and rather kind of long shoulder length hair. That individual, we believe, is a 31-year-old national, Swiss national, who is now in custody.
OK, Mark, that's Mark White. He'll keep us up to date on that story. We're going to go now across to Alan Milburn, who's the former Labour Health Secretary, worked very closely with Tony Blair, of course, who's speaking in London about the scourge of youth unemployment. Let's have a listen.
Of my advisors for amassing all of the evidence, putting it all together in what I hope is a compelling and pretty comprehensive report. You might have seen that just this morning there were new figures released showing that there are now over 1 million young people in our country not in education, employment or training. It's actually more than a statistic. It's a warning that far too many young people are reaching adulthood only to find the door to opportunity closed. They're neat. It's an ugly term, but it's a term with ugly consequences too. Aspirations thwarted, confidence drained, futures narrowed before they've properly begun. During the course of this review over the last few months, I've met, spoken, heard the views of hundreds of young people. Their voices sit at the heart of this report. Behind the statistic lie 100 1 million individual lives, all different, but with one thing in common. Not one of them wanted to end up being not in education, employment or training. I start with a very simple proposition. When Pat first asked me to do this work, I came to it with this view. Every young person has something to give, a skill, an aptitude, a potential. Every one of them should have an opportunity to learn or to earn. But the NEET rate in our country has barely been below 10% in 25 years. It's one thing to be ignorant about a problem. It's quite another to be neglectful. And I'm sad to say that for far too long in our country, the NEET crisis has been swept under the carpet. Not any longer. This review exists because today Britain faces a genuine generational fault line. We do not just have a chronic problem. It is getting worse, not getting better, and we have neither a system or a plan to deal with it. A decade or more ago, the problem was temporary youth unemployment, and youth unemployment today is still, of course, far too high. But now it is something deeper and far more corrosive. It is youth detachment from the labour market. Nearly 6 in 10 young people who are NEET today are economically inactive. That means they not only don't have a job, they're not looking for a job. 6 in 10 have never had a job. 20 years ago, that figure was closer to 4 in 10. Detachment is no longer temporary. For too many young people, it is becoming permanent. If the current trajectory continues, within 5 years, we forecast in this report that today's 1 in 8 young people who are NEET will climb to 1 in 6. We are at risk of a lost generation. There is much talk, of course, of this being an economic or a fiscal crisis, and indeed it is. The cumulative cost to our country of almost 1 million young people outside of education and work is estimated in my report at £125 billion a year, more than we spend on education. But the principal cost isn't borne by the taxpayer. It's borne by the young person. Being NEET has a long-term scarring impact. Cost to their confidence, cost to their health, cost to their future income. For those who spend the whole period from 18 to 24 years of age outside of education and work, as about a quarter of 24-year-old NEETs do, the lifetime loss can approach £300,000. That is not an abstract number. It's a deposit never saved, a home never bought, a pension never built, the hope of a good life never realised. So this is more than an economic crisis. It's a moral one. So the question today is no longer whether the current position is somehow unfortunate, it's whether it's sustainable. My answer is no, it is not. As a growing older generation becomes increasingly reliant on the next generation to sustain it, every young person has to have more opportunities to learn or earn and to get a job. The problem is that for too many young people, opportunities are not growing, they're shrinking. Reversing that starts with understanding what is driving it in the first place. This is the first of 2 reports that I'll produce, as Pat was saying. The next, in the autumn, will provide proposed solutions to the NEET crisis. This first report diagnoses the problem. It contains a huge amount of data analysis, new research, surveys of young people, employers, teachers, health professionals. During the course of this review, we've spoken to countless organisations. Disability charities, youth organisations, businesses, schools, colleges, health professionals, councils, mayors, political leaders. I've been around politics and public policy for more decades than I care to remember. I can genuinely say I've never come across an issue as visceral as this with the public. Wherever I've been, whoever I've spoken to, I've come across a deep concern, bordering on a fear, about the future facing young people. Parents are more worried than ever about their kids. Grandparents too, about their youngsters' prospects for a job, a home, a decent future. For decades in Britain, the foundation of our unwritten social contract has been that each generation would be able to do better than the last. That great British promise for this generation is being broken. The 1 million young people who are NEET are its leading casualties. They've been hit by a perfect storm. A generation ago,
almost 2 in 3 of this age cohort were in work. Today, it's barely 50%. For under 18s in education, the number also holding down a job has halved during that time. Now, there's been much focus about the impact on youth employment of recent policies like the youth minimum wage and the rise in national insurance contributions. Employers repeatedly raised this with me as an issue, and it is true. The changes have had an impact. It's always a risk for an employer to take on a young person precisely because they're unproven. So if public policy wants more young people in work, it has to minimise risks and maximise incentives for employers. But no one should pretend that the structural change that has been taking place in the youth labour market has only recently been triggered. Over the last few decades, Britain has had a jobs boom, but one that has largely passed young people by. Entry-level jobs have long been in sharp decline. Compared to the start of the century, there are 1.6 million fewer low and medium-skilled jobs in the economy. Vacancies in hospitality have halved in the last 4 years. Saturday jobs have long since been in free fall. Apprenticeship starts amongst young people have fallen by 35% over the last decade. The first rung of the ladder in careers...
So that is Alan Milburn, brought in a former cabinet minister from the Blair era. We had Blair's report yesterday, his own report on the state of this Labour government, which was pretty damaging. And he's written a very critical report about how we've got into the situation that 1.01 million people are not in employment, educational training. We call them NEETs. That's aged between 18 to 24. He's now delivering a speech about that, and he will be questioned. We're going to speak to our political editor, Christopher Hope, who is in Westminster. Christopher, this is the return of the Blairites. We had the man himself yesterday with that magisterial 5,700-word essay, and now we've got Alan Milburn's long-awaited report, commissioned by Pat McFadden, the Work and Pensions Secretary, who, of course, was Tony Blair's political secretary when he was a Prime Minister, who's commissioned Alan Milburn to do this report.
Yeah. And why not? I mean, nothing is wrong with being a Blairite when you're saying these kind of hard truths at the government, and in fact saying it as a former Tony Blair politician, a former member of his cabinet like Alan Milburn, a well-respected former health secretary, has added force. But look at what he's saying there. I mean, these young people, they don't want to be NEETs. He says not one of them, he spoke, wanted to be not in employment, education or training. He says we have aspirational thwarted, confidence drained. He says that these young people have lost £300,000 in money they would have earned. That would have gone towards a deposit for a house or the pension. There's a lost generation risk here. 1 in 8 young people are now in this category. Could be 1 in 6 without any action. There's a moral crisis. He said, and he didn't. He kind of went for the government slightly. He did say that all the employers said there's a problem here with employing younger people now. It's more costly because of national insurance, employers' tax. The minimum wage has gone up. Angela Rayner's ways of new regulation around employers mean that employers don't want to take on young people at Christmas because they can't have them on in February when it's quieter, so they don't take them on at all. The collapse in the Saturday job, collapse in entry-level jobs, as he was saying there. He said that there's a halving in vacancies in hospitality, pubs, restaurants. The kind of places we started work don't really exist in the same way as they did before. A complete wake-up call, I think, from Alan Milburn. Will the government do anything? Will they recognise that making it harder to employ young people is making the situation worse?
You do wonder about this current parliamentary Labour Party, Chris, because if there is to be a leadership contest, it's highly likely that the winner will be someone who's not even an MP at the moment, and they're relying on a cabinet minister who hasn't been in cabinet for 20-odd years to do a major report on what's frankly staring them right under their nose. The fact is we've failed, for some reason, this generation of young people.
I think we have failed them. I think we've all failed them, really. We should be talking about this more on TV. The politicians who are in charge should be dealing with it properly and seriously. And I think it's, hats off to Pat McFadden for commissioning a report, which is not easy reading for this government, but it may reorientate them. I mean, the figures emerging at the weekend, Miriam and Andrew, that this government pays far more in benefits, in keeping young people on benefits and training them to get into work. And they are despondent. And he hasn't even mentioned COVID yet, the COVID generation. I know personally, having family members hit by that when they're at university, they are very depressed and they're sad about what happened to them. It feels deeply unfair. They feel left behind by a generation of our generation who can buy property, buy homes, live in somewhere which you can call your home. Why can't they have those same opportunities? This is a really important report. It's come out in a week when it's quite a fallow time politically with half term. We'll be hearing from the PM later on it, and let's hope he listens.
Chris, there's also some irony in this report, isn't there? Given that a number of the factors that are causing this crisis were, in fact, caused by the new Labour government. The minimum wage, over-regulation, massive expansion in welfare and NHS spending, which, of course, has raised the profile of mental health problems that we now see so many people claiming benefits for. And, of course, the start of mass immigration, which we're hearing today is displacing young people from the jobs market. It's all very well for Alan Milburn to come up with these reasons for the crisis, but how likely is it that a Labour government is going to fix them?
Well, Miriam, mass immigration started definitely under the Tory party, and the government has got to grips with that, or they're using Tory policies brought in the final year. And
if we go back further than that, Chris, to when some of the Eastern European countries acceded to the EU, we were one of the only countries who didn't prevent that. And, of course, that was the start of mass migration and competition for jobs for young people.
Of course. Sorry, of course you're right. Going back to the A8 and the A2 countries that were brought in, I think it was 2002 and 2008 they came in. The first A8 were all the Eastern European countries, Poland and the like, and then it was Bulgaria, Romania in 2008 or 06, I think it was. Anyway, that did result in millions coming here from Eastern Europe and taking away jobs and build sites for young people and other entry-level jobs which may have gone to them. It was done on Tony Blair's watch. Alan Milburn was in charge then. Tony Blair didn't bring in any restrictions on numbers that can come in. Germany did, for example, at the time. He didn't do that because I think he was trying to show we were a welcoming place for Europe. It has hit, though, the indigenous Brits here, the Brits here who can't get jobs. Of course, now you may find that the children of those who came in from Eastern Europe, they can't get jobs either. So it is a problem that started then. It's been made worse in recent years, the past 2 years, of course, by the Labour government, making it harder to employ young people. We've heard there earlier from the Conservative Party, they would try and look at whether we're over diagnosing mental health issues. Is that why you should be able to claim benefits, or should, frankly, some people not be receiving those figures? But yes, you're right, of course, it's a failure by 30 years of politicians, Labour, then the Tory, and now Labour again.
All right, Chris, that's Christopher Hope, who is in Whitehall. We may return to Alan Milburn, perhaps when questions are being asked of him. It is a legitimate point Miriam raises there, Nigel Nelson, that when those wave of Eastern Europeans joined the European Union, Blair was warned to introduce a transitional limit.
Yeah.
And he ignored it. And I can still remember Robin Cook was probably Foreign Secretary at the time saying 15,000 come in the first year.
And he got it wrong. And
I think it was near a million in the first year.
I don't think it was as many as that, but it was way more than the 15,000 Robin Cook had predicted.
And I don't think we've ever recovered from it.
Well, I mean, bear in mind, we're now going back to the days of free movement.
Yeah.
And what Alan Milburn is saying about this is it's the last 25 years that have been a problem, that youth unemployment's been getting worse over that period. So we are talking about a time prior to that when we're actually in the EU. So free movement obviously didn't have a major impact on our youngsters being unemployed.
What's the problem now?
Well, I mean, this is what Alan Milburn is trying to find out, and we don't get his recommendations until the autumn.
And I don't think, so far, he's raised the point that we've discussed with the CSJ this morning, Carol Malone, that a lot of these jobs for young people aged between 18 to 24 have been taken by foreign nationals.
No, he hasn't addressed that point. But I think the bottom line here, Milburn has made these recommendations. This Labour government will not implement them. It's never going to happen in a million years because the Labour Party equates cutting benefits with being cruel to the poor.
Well, they set up the inquiry, so I mean the whole point was to cut benefits.
Maybe they didn't expect him to say what he said, but we saw what happened not too very long ago, Nigel, when Starmer tried to cut benefits.
Which is why you have the Stephen Timms inquiry to actually sort out the disability benefit.
But that's taking forever.
Do we think Burnham will do that? Burnham talks about this country needing more people on welfare. He wants welfare to burgeon, not to cut it down. So this is, you can make all these recommendations, but we still have backbenchers in this Labour government who see cutting benefits as being cruel to poor people.
Has Andy Burnham actually said that he wants more people on welfare?
Oh, I thought you might take me on over that. Yes, he has. He talks about the benefit of benefits, yes.
What of, young people? Nigel, this is a crisis, lost generation.
Yes.
18 to 24, not in work, not in training, not in employment. These are some of the most important years.
Yes, I mean this is the point of this review, and the scandal is how many years it's been going on for.
You and I have been at work. I started work at 18.
Yeah.
2 weeks after I finished my A-levels. You were probably the same. And probably the same for you.
And I started at 18. I was in Fleet Street by 21.
Yeah.
And a foreign correspondent by 24. Opportunities were always there, and it wasn't just people. It wasn't just me. There were fantastic opportunities for other people of my age.
But you weren't competing with loads of people from abroad.
Well, I'm not sure that a young journalist now would be competing with a load of people from abroad.
It seems to be more the entry-level jobs around hospitality, which used to be a brilliant first step.
Yeah. There is an issue.
Yes, and now it's those jobs particularly where vacancies have declined.
And also, if young people are going into the care sector, I know that things were bad during the Boris wave, but the latest figures show that where 108,000 people were coming in from abroad to the care sector, we only took last year 1,400. That's a problem for the care sector.
Yeah.
That they've now got 100,000 vacancies. The question is whether young people can fill those jobs.
Or why won't they?
Or why won't they?
What do you think the problem is, Mary? Do you think that young people just don't want to do those sort of jobs?
I think some don't want to do menial jobs. I wouldn't have wanted to be washing dishes or serving coffee when I left school, that's for sure. But the thing is, the difference between that, me and a lot of people today, is my parents would have made me do that. If I was living at home, they'd have said, that's what you'll go and do. If you want to live in this house, that's what you'll do. But the problem, I think, with the Labour Party now, it is full of bleeding hearts. They see everyone as a victim. They don't see anyone as not wanting the work. They see everyone who doesn't work as skivers. Burnham talked this week about inequality. Well, I'll tell you what the biggest inequality, and he was addressing what we've been talking about. The biggest inequality is when people work like dogs for a wage at the end of the week, only to discover that someone who sits on the backside at home all day gets paid more money than them. That's the inequality in this country now, and that's the inequality of our benefit system. And until we tackle the benefit system and make work pay, which is what the Tory slogan was last time round, we're going to have this.
Is there also a change of attitude that since COVID there's been this sense that we're entitled? That the state will pay for everything, the state will do everything. We got it with what was that system that Rishi Sunak invented, where it paid company people?
Oh, furlough,
which cost billions of billions, and it just got people. Did it get people into a mindset?
Yeah, I think
that we've still got.
Yes, I think things changed after COVID, and one of the problems we've got is COVID being one of them, but all the various shocks that the economy has taken over the years. So we started in 2008 with the financial crash. We then come to Brexit, which was an economic shock, whatever you think about it, but it was an economic shock. Then we got COVID, and now we're in the middle of two major wars. So all those things are constricting the employment market.
You say that, but when Labour came to power 2 years ago, we were the fastest growing economy in the G7.
Well, we are now.
So yeah, I know we are.
I think for one quarter.
But
I don't think it's going to last.
No, I'm wondering about that too.
But it's not a big amount. But and Labour have destroyed that. I think.
Well, they haven't. We're still the fastest growing economy, but Andrew's right. I think that things are going to change. Inflation's going to go shooting up.
When you say fastest growing economy, how much is the economy growing?
But the problem with that statistic is that it doesn't it doesn't relate to per capita. And I think that most people feel they're worse off after, frankly, 2 decades of stagnating per capita
and
growth.
they know when they go to the supermarket how much their
food inflation is just...
It's getting higher, getting worse and worse.
It's 30%, I think, since COVID, food inflation
and
alone.
people really notice it.
But I think COVID changed us as a society entirely. I think we became entitled. I think a lot of people became lazy. I think people thought they were entitled to work from home when they never had before. So I think it's changed us.
Students didn't go to university. We should never have closed those schools.
Absolutely.
The mistakes we made.
Carol, Nigel, thank you so much for your time this morning. Plenty more to come on Britain's Newsroom.
And by the way, Alan Milburn is still talking. I thought he's got that politician's disease. You don't need to talk that long, Mr Milburn.
It's good, though. He hasn't lost his Geordie accent. I like that.
Yeah, he was a good... I always liked him when he was in government.
Yeah, me too.
And it's all been previewed to the papers. Anyway, well,
Taz.
here is your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you. The top stories. A major police operation is underway after a man stabbed 3 people at a train station in Switzerland. The suspected perpetrator, a 31-year-old Swiss national, was arrested. The 3 victims of the attack were receiving hospital care, according to a police statement. According to reports in local media, the man allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar and stabbed the passers-by at Winterthur train station. The number of young people not in employment, education or training increased to a post-pandemic high of over 1 million in the 3 months from January to March, the Office for National Statistics has announced. It's as a major review has also warned that 1 in 6 young people will not be in education, employment or training within 5 years unless urgent action is taken. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. And coming up at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily.
What a treat, Mr.
Welcome back, Mark.
If I can get myself properly adjusted.
Quite a busy morning, Mark.
Yeah, but, you know, that's where we like it, you know.
All in a day's work, really, for you, isn't it, Mark?
And what are you doing on the show?
We are going to be talking about the heat wave, crime wave.
Yeah, because,
Shocking, actually,
you know, there is absolutely a correlation between
So I gather.
very hot spells and disorder and violent disorder. And we've seen that played out, multiple incidents. So Charlie Peters is going to be here, is going to highlight just what's been happening and what really is...
basic things like people leave windows and doors open, which they wouldn't... Is it as basic as that or not? Is it much more organised?
Yeah.
Right.
The more, the more likely to have fights, more people just packed into public spaces. And then some people, some psychologists, think that the heat just makes you more aggressive, more irritable, less sleep.
Yeah,
And then people want to get outside, and, of course, alcohol.
Alcohol, another factor, yeah.
Well, exactly. So you're all together, you're just a bit more volatile. It's why, for instance, you hear about the police praying for something called PC rain. Police constable rain.
Well, it's coming.
It's well,
and it is coming.
Without a doubt the biggest law and order tool available to the police. When they get rain, downpours, you don't get the kind of disorder, the riots.
It is fascinating,
isn't it? I'm wondering whether I'm getting old or things are actually getting worse when it comes to the old disorder on the streets.
You're not getting old, Emily. You're nothing like. But I think there is worse disorder on the streets. And part of the problem is there ain't enough police on the streets.
Well, partly that, and partly the fact that these little scroats don't have any respect
I quite agree
for
with you,
the
Mark.
police anymore. They're full of information about what their rights are. But nothing has gone into their small little brains about what their responsibilities.
Oh, yeah, you see arrest videos, don't you, where the 17, 18, 19-year-old is talking about their rights and how they don't need to do anything. And their mates
people
filming
used to be terrified of the police and nervous about being...
So we're going to get nicely hot under the collar about that.
And there's shocking research from the Centre for Social Justice about just how many non-EU migrants are nabbing jobs that under-25s would normally take.
What is it, a 355% increase since 2020?
Crazy.
Isn't
27 jobs going to non-EU migrants over one to a Brit.
So it's hard to argue that, you shouldn't have a system where if you're born and bred British, you should go to the front of the queue.
Gordon Brown said
first refusal.
British jobs for British workers, and he was lampooned for it at the time, and for once, I agreed with it.
Well, it was the case until 2020, but the last government changed that law.
Yes.
Well, all that's coming up.
Which Prime Minister was it?
Was 2020, so it must have been
Boris
Johnson. Well, coming up and more at midday from those two. But next up, we're hoping to get a question to Alan Milburn. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Things are set to turn a little bit fresher for many of us for tomorrow, but before all that, it is still hot and often sunny through today. We have high pressure to the east of us, and this high pressure means we're dragging in hot air from the south, and it's this that's leading to those exceptionally high temperatures. Worth bearing in mind, with the heat, we are seeing a few heavy thundery downpours developing. Already had some of those this morning and a few more to come in places this afternoon. Difficult to be too precise with exactly where and when these will develop, so just bear in mind the odd shower is possible. Temperatures in the southeast likely to be a bit higher than yesterday. We're looking at highs around 32, possibly 33 Celsius, and that hot air pushing northwards means parts of Scotland, northern Scotland, likely to have their hottest day of the week. Through the day, through into the evening, there will be some cloud around, and that's always going to make it a little bit difficult working out exactly how hot it's going to get. Nonetheless, the generally fine weather continues for many of us into this evening. Still just some showers to watch out for here and there. Like I say, a bit difficult to predict exactly when they're going to kick off. Just bear in mind there will be a couple around. Generally, the showers are going to ease if they do develop as we go through into the evening. Lots of dry weather for many of us just towards the northwest of the UK. Some showery rain pushing its way in here, and particularly over northwestern parts of Scotland. That could turn quite heavy through the early hours of tomorrow morning. With that hot air still across us, like we've seen through some recent nights, temperatures not dropping a huge amount, mid-teens in many towns and cities. Another warm, sticky night for most of us. Through into Friday then, we have more showery rain affecting northwestern parts of the UK, and some showers pushing into southern and southeastern areas as well. Here in the southeast is still quite hot, temperatures in the very high 20s. Elsewhere, a fresher feel for many of us, high teens, low 20s for most. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, the bank holiday heatwave has brought with it a spate of violent incidents, including murder investigations, stabbings and disorder.
God, it's awful, isn't it? Criminal investigation underway across the country, including in Sheffield, Hackney, Brighton, Southend, to name just a few places.
Well, let's speak to GB News national reporter Charlie Peters, who joins us in the studio. Charlie, quite an extraordinary range of incidents across the whole breadth of the country.
Yes, multiple stabbings, first and foremost, in the capital, including that murder in Hackney, and a murder investigation underway there. But we were also able to reveal a number of stabbing incidents in the capital over the last 3 days. First was a stabbing at Portobello Road in Notting Hill on Monday evening. 3 men, according to witnesses who spoke to GB News.
That's the site of the famous market and a great tourist spot, isn't it?
Well, Notting Hill really is a sort of... Portobello Road, it's a sort of tale of 2 cities.
Yeah.
Ladbroke Grove end in the north. Very much associated with gang culture and crime. And indeed, last night about 7 p.m, we've also been able to confirm details of another stabbing very nearby at the Kensington Leisure Centre, where 2 men have been arrested after they were treated for injuries by the London Ambulance Service. We're also aware now that there was a separate incident of a man approaching the Metropolitan Police at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, approaching with stabbing wounds. That's also currently being investigated. These incidents just being confirmed to us in the last 12 hours or so. But also there was a stabbing in Brighton over the bank holiday weekend as youths descended on the seaside town. And of course, a man has been charged with grievous bodily harm with intent in relation to the stabbing of a doctor in his 50s at Hillingdon Hospital in West London. A 27-year-old man called Mahdi Abdullali, he appeared at Uxbridge Magistrates Court yesterday. He's also been charged with the theft of knives.
So a doctor at work in the workplace is stabbed?
That's correct. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, a doctor
becoming?
in his 50s was allegedly stabbed multiple times.
Oh, dear.
I should say that 27-year-old man has now been charged.
Right, so we can't...
Separately, there was also a stabbing murder in Kilburn over the bank holiday weekend, and also we have seen disorder in other seaside towns, in Bournemouth and also in Southend in Essex, where we saw lots of young people from London descend on those towns. There were some disturbing images being shared online, particularly through TikTok, of people advertising some of the weapons that they were intending to bring to those towns. In Southend in particular, Essex police were seen preparing for their arrival at that police station, and there was an extensive operation at that time. There was also disorder and a stabbing in Clapham over the weekend, so several Met Police investigations ongoing as a consequence. And just to put this all in some context as to why perhaps this heat wave and this link with criminality has occurred, there is a trend here. We have seen it over several years in lots of major cities, but also particularly in London. Last year, for example, there were 97 murders in the capital, of which 94 were confirmed incidents by the Met Police, ones that they discussed and shared details about. Of those 94, 41 occurred, I believe, when the temperature was above 25 degrees.
So the heat goes to people's heads.
So it could suggest that, there are multiple factors at play here. Some criminologists talk about heat acting as an agitator towards people who are already dispensed to criminality, but also it gets people outside. People gather. Gangs might be busier. There's also a greater focus on drug supply during those occasions. More gangs colliding in territory and in areas where they might be conflicting with those seeking demand of those products. So many reasons as to why heat can contribute to this criminality. But what we're seeing at the moment, and there are 3 additional incidents that GB News has been able to reveal, stabbings over the last 24 hours or so, is that the MPS, the Metropolitan Police Service, very much dealing with a surge in criminality at the moment.
Charlie Peters, thank you for that. And there'll be more about that, of course, with Tom, not Tom, it's Mark and Emily.
Indeed.
After 12. Now, some breaking news from Glasgow. Nicole Blaine, 30, has been sentenced to life with a minimum of 19 years in prison for the murder of her 19-day-old daughter. Tony Maguire joins us now from outside the court, and a warning, the story will contain some very, very upsetting and distressing information.
Tony Maguire.
Yes, good morning. Well, today Nicole Blaine sat motionless until the judge handed down a minimum 19 years of her life sentence, 1 year behind bars for every day that her baby lived. Now, baby Thea was repeatedly shook by Blaine, inflicting blunt force trauma, causing several fractures to her skull. Blaine immediately called an ambulance after the incident and then immediately blamed her other daughter, just 3 years old. Judge Scott said this could not have been caused by a fall or being dropped, as suggested. Now, Judge Blaine also blasted her wholly self-serving account in trying to include the blame on her 3-year-old daughter. He described her crimes as catastrophic and deadly violence. She refused to accept the enormity and finality of her actions, and the judge said that the jury found beyond all reasonable doubt that her actions were either wickedly intentional or wickedly reckless. Thea's father, Ross Wilson, sat sobbing in court as the account was read out. He had just 45 minutes of baby Thea's 9 days on this earth. The case has drawn significant movement on social media. Many campaigners or activists, or whatever they would be called, sat in court today sobbing as the horror of Nicole Blaine's crimes. They shouted "monster," "good riddance," swore and clapped as Blaine was led down to start her 19-year sentence. Many then gathered down around the corner at Glasgow Green to let off balloons. They sighed as the monster goes down, the balloons go up. And Nicole Blaine's lawyer, Thomas Ross, says an appeal against the conviction and sentence has already been lodged this morning.
OK, that's Tony Maguire for us up there in Glasgow. What an absolutely horrific story. 19 years, Miriam, and if she does 50% of that sentence, I'll be surprised.
Just unbelievable. Fortunately, extremely rare, but just absolutely horrific. Well, stick with us on Britain's Newsroom. Plenty more to come after the break.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Well, the hot weather's not just continuing across the UK, it's also continuing across western and central parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine to go alongside that too. Temperatures widely in the high 20s, if not pushing into the low 30s across parts of Italy and many inland areas of Europe. Mostly dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see the odd shower across parts of Italy and also Greece. The sunshine's here to stay over the weekend and into next week, alongside those high temperatures, widely pushing into the low 30s across Italy.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
So much thought goes into the lyrics these days, doesn't it? Well, joining me now is the Eurovision expert, Paul Jordan. Paul, first of all, let's have your verdict on the winning song.
Good morning, Angela. I think the song was well-deserved. It was very energetic and very catchy. And most people are watching Eurovision for the first time on the night, and it stood out. So I think it's deserved. And it's always nice to see a new country winning for the first time.
But it wasn't really a song, was it? It was an instrumental with somebody saying Bangaranga several times.
Don't forget the dancing, though. It's catchy, you know, Eurovision, it's about the songs, it's about the performance, it's about the spectacle. So it's all of those things. It's a television show, and it caught the imagination of both the public and the jury. So we're off to Bulgaria next year.
Right. And the British entry, what was your verdict on that?
Well, I knew it wasn't going to do well because I felt that it was too kind of daring, but I actually think fair play, we've tried something different. Eurovision is not safe, you know, Bangaranga for Bulgaria was not a safe choice. It didn't pay off, but ultimately, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean we've done that badly because you can technically come 11th with every country's ranking and still get 0 points. I'm not sure that's what happened last night, but certainly I think Sam, who represented the UK, should hold his head up high. He did well.
Really? 1 point? Yeah. Anyway, look, does this bring the whole question of Eurovision into, the whole subject rather, into question? I mean, what impact does this competition every year actually have on the music industry? We were checking, it was 1974 when ABBA won with Waterloo. They went on to be international megastars. Most of the others have sunk without trace.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Day.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. A very important story on which to end the show.
A top bakery has axed ice buns after 43 years. Apparently no one's buying them anymore because our taste buds, we want posher cakes.
Well, let's speak to the owner of Ange de Sucre Bakery, Reshmi Bennett. Reshmi, in 60 seconds, tell us, why is the ice bun going out of fashion?
Ice bun's going out of fashion because it's like a catfish dessert. You know, it's like tricking people into thinking it's something greater than it is, but really it's a hot dog bun with icing on. And when you're going to a shop and you've got an ice bun and right next to it you've got this beautiful plump glazed donut, which one are you going to pick? You're going to be treat-wise and you're going to pick the one that's not a hot dog covered with icing.
Fair point.
I haven't had an ice bun for years.
So what kind of cakes are
Probably
people
that's
buying
why.
instead?
There we are, you see, that's right. What's the most popular cake now?
I would say in terms of treats, people are liking really chunky cookies, and because that's got a hit of nostalgia as well, because I know ice bun is so steeped in nostalgia, but sadly I think the generation that has that nostalgia, there's no nice way of saying it, but they're aging out.
Yeah, you're talking
And
about me
stuff that-
aging out.
And
I can
stuff
take
that's
it.
becoming really
Reshmi, I can take it.
are puddings and cookies, chunky loaded cookies. You find them everywhere.
Well, sadly, Reshmi, not only is Andrew aging out, but the programme is timing out, and we're going to have to leave it there. But if you advertise it as a iced hot dog bun.
And it's Reshmi's bakery is very nice. It's Ange de Sucre, very nice bakery. And you thought the production team might have got us a bun.
I know. Failure.
Not a bun.
Failure. We could
not
go
a
and buy
bun
one now,
between them.
because that's
you
it
know
from
why?
Britain's Newsroom.
Because the production team have scoffed the lot themselves.
Sure, that's true. Well, up next, Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily. I'll see you tomorrow.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's another hot day ahead for most, though feeling slightly cooler in parts of the west. Nevertheless, it's going to be another dry, settled day ahead. There will be occasional showers across northern areas to begin with, though these will fade away fairly quickly. And first thing this morning, plenty of sunshine around. We'll eventually see more cloud push up from the southwest, creating hazier spells of sunshine. This cloud turning quite low around coastal areas of Wales and the southwest, so turning a little bit disappointing here. And the chance of the odd shower into the afternoon, which could turn a little bit thundery. But once again, those temperatures pushing past the 30-degree mark for the 6th day in the row. And even across eastern areas where yesterday it was a little bit cooler, it's going to be another warm day ahead. Still feeling fairly warm to finish off the day. Once again, high cloud creating hazier spells of sunshine to finish off the day. Some showers across parts of the southeast. But a fine finish to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and across parts of Scotland as well. A very warm afternoon ahead, actually, across western areas of Scotland. Probably the warmest day of the week so far. So through the course of the evening, it should remain fairly dry. There could be some showers across the southeast that will linger on, and we'll eventually start to see a change across parts of Scotland, turning more unsettled from the west. Some heavy showers pushing through here, some of these clipping Northern Ireland at times, but actually across the bulk of England and Wales remaining dry. But it's going to be another warm night to come. Temperatures widely not dropping below 15 to 17 degrees, so that might make it a little bit uncomfortable this evening. Now across Scotland, Northern Ireland, once again there could be some showers. These are a little bit heavier and feeling cooler here. And also we've got this layer of showers just pushing across the southeast. Once again, these could turn a little bit heavy, possibly even thundery. But still, for the most part, there's lots of dry weather, lots of sunshine. Temperatures down a touch, but still pushing widely into the high 20s. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over.